All right, I'm going to show you this head again very slowly and give you some tips in terms of how I play it. Before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about the psychology of approaching a bebop head at a fast tempo. And I try not to get too metaphysical about music in these lessons, and I try to stick to the technical information. But I think I can't ignore it in this case. So if you look at the first version of the head that I played, it's at about, I think, like 250 BPM, and I can get this up to about 280 on a good day. But I always go into it with a belief that it's not about physical limitations, that it's about muscle memory. And I've played this head probably 500 times in my life. So there's a great deal of muscle memory which has been worked out. And I always approach it that way. And I always think to myself, if I can just remember what it is I'm supposed to be playing, then I'll be able to do it if I can imagine myself playing at whatever specific tempo I'm envisioning. For example, like I listen to some friends of mine who are like these heavy metal shred guitar players, and I think to myself, even if I tried, I probably couldn't even do that because I can't even envision what that entails. I can do a couple things, some sweeps and this and that, but it always kind of comes back to like jazz and because that's what's inside my head. So the thing that you have to be really careful about with a head like this, and this is maybe one of the most difficult bebop heads in terms of standards, is learning something wrong and then continuously playing it over and over again. And that's happened to almost anybody that I've talked to about this particular head. Is like you just like learn one note wrong and you just play that one note that way, for so long, and then when you go back to try to relearn it, you're like, oh my god, and it throws you off. What you really want to do is you want to learn it very slowly and correctly the first time. And when you're playing it, you want to get into, and I am going to get a little bit philosophical about this part because I do think it's important. You want to get into a state of observance where you're disconnected physically from what you're doing when you're playing it, and you're hearing it almost as a listener. And so like when I'm playing at that tempo and I'm really doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm not thinking about anything. And I think like a lot of us have had the experience where you're playing, you're burning, and then suddenly something intellectual creeps into your brain and it's like everything stops. So the reason I'm giving you that advice is if you learn this head and you go into some type of playing situation, you have to be very certain if you're going to play this that you can shut down that intellectual part of yourself and that you can play it as an observer and not as a musician playing an exercise. So like think of something that you do know and apply the psychology of what I just told you, everything I just told you. So think about Autumn Leaves, or think about, I don't know, Straight No Chaser or something like that, something basic. And then think about everything I just said. And that's what you're trying to achieve when you're playing something that is this complicated. All right, so what I'll do next is I'll break it down slowly for you, and I'll try to tell you some tips that help me. All right, here's the first lick. All right, a lot of people pick the first two notes like this. I do a pull off. It just sounds more accurate to me. Yeah, here's the rest. Might want to bar that C to G there. Every guitar player plays this part like it's a rock lick. I beg you, just land on it. There's some controversy. Some people say it's D to F here. I just play C to E flat. Next lick is fairly straightforward here. I'll show you that. And now back to the beginning again. Alright, this next lick, I play the fourth finger at the end of these pull-offs. See, with the third finger, it's kind of hard. And I just find it easier with the fourth finger. Alright, this next part I play on one string. Okay, a lot of people play this and make that shift. I don't. I think it sounds more hornistic to go across, so that's why I do it that way. Play it again. See? And if I shift that second finger, I always get it for some reason. Maybe that's just a psychological thing with me, but I always do that. I always shift it. Alright, that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys can learn it and record it and send it to me. It'd be great. Thanks.